So above, as below, ether and earth, material, spirit, enslavement, freedom, deception, truth. The world as we know it is preconditioned by our perceptions. We are told how to think, feel, how not to feel, how not to think. These are the battlefields we face that shape our reality. We are taught to accept certain universal truths, dimensions, and rules that ground us to the world we live in. We accept the tyranny of order and hierarchy, the divisions of class and wealth as we are coerced into accepting that without these, the world will dissolve into chaos. We are taught the differences between good and evil, dark and light. We are taught to accept these dualities and to hope we understand the difference. Through perception, we are shown how the world works and to make peace in accepting its inequalities, its division, how to accept that the roll of the dice rarely falls in our favor. Some are luckier than others. They became grateful, complacent, blind to the discrepancies, Themis truths, the poverty of some and the wealth of others. Truth becomes less important to those that have more, enjoy more personal power, more material freedom, and yet they are no more free than when they had less, and perhaps even less free than when they were less important in the world. This is because perception and tyranny of the mind is the real battle. Psychological warfare. We are in a battle of spiritual proportions. The battle is within the mind, on both the micro and macro levels of our reality. We are fighting for spiritual freedom, as we do not have dominion over our souls on the earthly plane. It is more than a battle of good versus evil. The battle is a war of worlds, realities, and dominion over the light. This battle is being fought on a higher dimension and yet permeates to this plane, where we are confined to body, or more specifically, a body trapped in a cycle that forgets it is spiritual by nature, outside of this reality, this plane. What is psychological warfare, one might ask? It is fought in small battles to galactic, individual conflicts to transnational. These are battles we are engrossed in each day and night, through our dreams, where we reconnect with the core self, trapped into the subconscious plane in slumber. To understand it simply, psychological warfare is to enslave, control, dominate, and demoralize people through often subliminal tactics of lies, fear, hate, humiliation, exclusion, and pain. These are weaponized against individuals and groups to systematically degrade them, weakening their minds to the point of madness, making them question reality, their sanity, their right to exist in a world that they fail to belong, and ultimately, to torture them into submission through their own volition, through the disempowerment of the mind. The mind shapes reality and has the ability to see beyond one perception. It creates world or destroys them. If you take dominion over the mind, you have won another's reality, our world and our societies, be it our families, our cultures, our workplaces, our countries, our friends, our enemies, all accept the unspoken practice of psychological warfare as a means of taking power and exercising it. The loudest in the room is applauded as the most confident, the most aggressive as the most capable to lead, the fastest as being the most efficient. This is all perception, and if you cannot fit into this mold, you are forced to conform, to compete, to sacrifice in order to be well received by the group, the system. Without these qualities, you are subjugated, subservient, non-productive, and weak. This perception is forced on the masses and the individual alike to ensure uniformity and consent to systematic hive thinking. This keeps us distracted from all realities but the one chosen for us. Psychological battles are fought in the world and in everyday encounters. Often in everyday exchanges it is subtle and made through inference, social exclusion, passive aggressiveness, comparison, or the reinforcing of social norms as a hierarchical structure. One example might be Ammon of a lower class entering a store to browse a necklace, and the store clerk asking the man if he can afford to view that particular necklace. The humiliation and inference is to disempower them and to operate through social stigma and shame, that he is socially unsuccessful and therefore by class alone, undeserving of any bargaining power, regardless of whether he has the means to make the purchase or not. Tactics of such warfare are often strategic, manipulative, and microaggressions that are difficult to prove as they are isolated, emotionally charged, or easily explained. as a mistake. Psychological warfare is concerned with disempowering others and taking their power in order to break another's spirit and harvest their energy. A person in fear, unawakened and lost, is an energy source for those who do not want to feel powerless. These tactics are taught and adopted by groups, all seeking to have and obtain power, to escape social shame and persecution. It is the difference between eat or be eaten. Another example can be a microaggression in the workplace, where one coworker invites every colleague with the exception of one to a social event. Or it may be one person providing unsolicited advice to another on how to improve their physical looks in order to be more attractive in society. Comparison is a common tactic. Through inference, one can suggest that a person is not as smart, good-looking, or hard-working as your friend or colleague, and that is why that person has not excelled in life. Opportunity is not often merit-based, but taken from psychological battles, and who can outmaneuver the other. By dehumanizing and demeaning others, people gain power and opportunity over others. Those caught in shame and disillusion do not question reality or escape a perpetuation of fear. Those who break others' spirits thus win the war. Think of it as a tennis match. Two powerful players, but with different skills. A tennis match can be turned, and a match won not on skill or prowess of the body, but rather through psychological triumphs of one opponent's mind over another's. Looks exchanged. Emotions and microaggressions can win a match. One player conceding to the dominance of the other player eyes enough to turn the tides. The player that has lost 2 sets can go on to win the entire match simply by dominating the other player's mind and psyche. When someone perceives that they are going to lose the battle, they concede and the match is lost in the mind first before it becomes reality. Psychological warfare has existed for eons. We see it in the ancient Battle of Troy. The Greeks could not penetrate the high walls or the spirit of the Trojans. For 10 long years, the Greeks fought a battle that could not be won, against an enemy that did not accept the reality of the invading Greeks. Truth and light dominated the narrative for the Trojans. There was one Greek hero, Achilles, reluctant to enter the war, that had the means to turn the tides. He was considered the most fierce and magnificent of warriors, and yet his sword was reluctant. He understood the battle with his mind, his soul. Where his mind went, his body followed. When Achilles was persuaded to enter the war, the Trojans began their demise. Achilles did not destroy barricade or walls or slay 1,000 men. Rather, he slew one, the valiant and fair-minded Prince Hector, the future of the Trojan bloodline. Achilles, understanding violence and power, used psychological tactics against the Trojans, slaying the noble prince, defiling his body, and breaking the soul of King Priam of Troy, who was forced to watch his dead son's body dragged through the dirt in degradation. Psychological warfare is the battle of the minds, where one degrades the other and justifies amongst his peers the social humiliation and destruction of another human being to gain more power. These exchanges are common practice to our world, our existence. They shape our reality. To overcome the subjugation and the violence, we must first understand our origins, our narratives, and remove our consent from the war over our minds, our reality. How do we ensure that we are not victims to a reality that breaks us, enslaves us? Whether that be by the government, our family, our workplace, or by any said group. Mind over matter, yes, but more so, seeking understanding of ourselves and others. We must not sell our consent for fear or pain of death. We must know ourselves enough to understand everything from the beginning, reborn in time. I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. There is much to understand, to learn. We are taught to be afraid of that which we don't understand, but we can learn through listening, through knowledge. We may be forced into battle, our minds often lost to forces stronger than us, but we can die, and again be reborn. That much has been shown to us before by forces greater than us, and to understand this we must be seekers. Seekers, the truth.